Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Wherever you are on our planet.
Welcome to being here.
Yes.
I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya.
And today's episode,
Yes.
when the story ends.
You begin.
That's right. You have a well-developed story about who you are, what you can do, what you're no good at. Let's drop all that today and listen to each other. It'll pull us into this moment. And in this moment, the limitations that are self-imposed by that recording fall away and whole new possibilities emerge.
But you must be willing to hear something newly. Because if you sorted through what you already believe to be true, you'll just have a rerun of what you believe, which is that you have limitations. What if you are limitless? I realize that some of us are more talented than others in different areas or arenas. Like I will never be a great musician because I don't know how to play an instrument. However, I have other attributes that support me in my life, as do you. Now, that thing about my musician, maybe I don't have any musical talent.
Well, maybe you don't have an interest in it.
Or maybe when I was a kid, there was a piano in the house. And my sisters both played piano. And I hit the keys discordantly and came to the conclusion that I'd never be any good at this.
Well, that is the story.
Exactly what I'm saying.
However, it is clear to me that Shya has no interest in playing a musical instrument, as demonstrated by the last almost 40 years that I've known him. 40, not 50, 40 years that I've known him.
No.
That his desire to listen to music, go to concerts, express himself musically is minimal. So if you look at what you're interested in right here, right now, rather than go back to the why of it, that's transformation.
That is. And if you're willing to hear things newly, as though they, and not pass them through what you believe to be true or how you already see life, then you can discover other possibilities that exist simultaneously to your current reality.
What you just said, Shya, for me, was so profound. If you're willing to hear things newly rather than pass them through what you already know.
What you already believe, because what you believe determines what you know. What you believe determines how you will look at new information, because if the new information disagrees with what you already believe, then you won't allow yourself to see it. And that's why most people's lives are a rerun of previous relationships and situations.
Well, something else you just said, though, you said the new reality can run concurrently alongside the story.
Absolutely.
I think most of us think we have to get rid of the story. It's more about letting go of it and letting something else potentially observe. The story doesn't go away, it just recedes into the background.
What I like about listening is if you truly listen, rather than sort what's being said to figure out and understand it, but let it just come into you, you get separated from your story. Because you have to let go of what you believe to hear things newly. And then you can discover a new possibility because you're allowing yourself to not replay the same old tape of, oh, I know this, or, oh, this is just like, oh, this is like this or that, and just let it in. That separates you from that story sufficiently that you can discover you.
Love it. Should we take our first guest?
Please.
All right. Miss Jody, welcome to being here. Tell people where you are zooming in from, please.
Hi, I'm Jody, and I'm calling in from Brooklyn. Nice to see you.
Nice
Hi.
to see you. Welcome
Nice to
to
see you
being
too.
here. And nice to hear you. I know that our listeners don't have the opportunity to see your beauty, but I have a feeling
But
if
you
they
are.
listen, they'll be able to hear it.
Thank you. I loved hearing what you said, just hearing things newly. That was,
So my question is, did you hear it newly when Shia just said, I said, our listeners won't have an opportunity to see your beauty. And then I paused before I said, but they'll be likely be able to hear it. Shia said, but you are beautiful. And I watched your eyes, and it was almost as if you had a set of windshield wipers in front of there that went shoom, shoom, on to what I was going to say. The idea that I am a beauty is not part of my story.
thank you, Shia. Thank you, Ariel.
Thank you, Ariel.
Well, yeah, that's true. You know, it was interesting. You were talking about piano when you started speaking, and I used to play piano when I was a child and really love music. And I forget how much I love music. But it was very funny when you said, I'm not a musician. I was like, you are, or I felt like you are, because there's so many things that happen with music where there's listening and there's sounds, just like you're creating something special in the moment. So,
well, I see what you're saying. You're drawing an analogy. When we do seminars, Shia is like a master conductor where he can pull in this theme or that theme, as am I, where we can see the symphony of people before us. But as in a purely musical terms, it's not something we have aptitude in particular.
It doesn't mean I don't like listening to music. It's just that I don't have the facility to hear a tone in my head and make it come out of my fingertips, say on a guitar. That facility is not developed in me. Doesn't mean it couldn't be developed, but you have to have an interest also. My interest has always been spiritual, even though I don't consider myself a spiritual person. It's always been about discovering the essence of being a human being, about experiencing your life in current time rather than replaying a story about how you are, which then determines how your life shows up.
So you were going to tell us, I'm not sure if you finished it, that you played as a piano.
I forget sometimes. It's something I haven't thought about in a while, but I really appreciate this topic where the story ends and you begin, because it's really had an impact on me in so many ways, in my professional life and my life in general.
You say in your professional life.
Give us an example.
What is your professional life?
So I work as a what is called a staff developer and instructional coach, and with the Department of Education. And I support teachers, and I do that virtually and visit their classrooms. And I also do trainings right now, currently online. And what comes up is the idea that I know them. So, for example, I might work with teachers for a period of time and I might get to know them, but I really appreciate the idea of just, pressing that restart button and opening up their classroom door, walking into the classroom and discovering who's there right now, like what is the need right now, as opposed to holding on to what they were doing last time. It's just really supported me in supporting the teachers and offering things for them that is.
Let me see if I can simplify this for me. So you are a teacher.
Yes.
And now you've been elevated.
You teach teachers so they become more proficient at teaching.
Yes. So sometimes I see them in the process of teaching. Sometimes I see them in meetings where they're not with their students. And so a lot of times we might have a goal, student work, or how are the students doing in their learning? Where do they need help? Where, just some different ways of looking. There's a lot of different ways of looking at student work, and a lot of different ways of walking into the classroom and supporting teachers. And so it does require just really listening to what they're saying, sometimes listening to what they're not saying. But I've really learned that a lot from you through attending the seminars, and it's really had such an impact, because what's happened is I can tune into what students might really need, and I've learned to trust myself and bring things to schools that are just right for students. So it feels like the students feel they're getting what they need. The teachers feel like, wow, this is a nice, we're working together.
Yeah, but you see, I see something else, Jody.
Okay.
See, when I first met you, you were not very self-expressive. And at that time, you were, I believe, a mentor teacher, rather than, you were still teaching and you were helping other teachers. But in my experience, you had a lot of attention on yourself and, dare say, the story of your inadequacies. Shaking your head in Zoom.
Yes.
Audio doesn't work.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have had the courage to let go of that idea or story of whatever you used to suppress yourself by telling yourself you weren't either able or you didn't have the right to.
Well, most of us take an aspect or multiple aspects from our childhood to justify not doing something. So it could be, I didn't read because my mother didn't teach me, or I am no good because the family I come from is messed up, or I am less because I was unwanted as a child, or we have a story that we put forward to suppress us.
I was suppressed because I was the youngest child.
Weren't you bought at Macy's?
I was.
His older sister told him that they went out and bought him at Macy's.
Well, at least they paid something for me.
Yeah,
so I must have had some value. Right?
Yes.
So
it's funny when you say that this particular topic means a lot to you. Of course it does. You're the one who suggested it. Actually, one of the things that we've been doing recently is people from our community who are brilliant and talented like yourself, we sent out a call to folks in the community. We regularly do in this format on the podcast itself, but we did a more group email to a lot of the people who've attended things for some time and said, what would you like to hear on Being Here? Suggest a topic, suggest a description. And we tweaked some of them. Some of them we're doing exactly as they were suggested. You suggested this one. So what is it you think is available for people to discover as they drop their stories?
It's funny, I think they can discover themselves while the world around them. And one thing that's happened.
Wait.
While the world around them.
Like also, it's not just, I guess sometimes I see it like, people have a story and they can just discover themselves, I think, without the story, or including it on the side and not really listening to it. So it might just be there in their lives. And this is the thing that I've discovered, where there are limitations that I might have a moment like having a thought like, wow, I don't know.
Let me suggest something, Jody, that you're editing what you have to say right now. Yeah. So you're not getting complete sentences.
And part of it is you're looking up into the world. You're not actually talking to us.
Okay.
You're looking up into what you think or know, your story, the reality that we're talking about letting go of.
And I'm sorry I put you on the spot, but let me ask you something different. You did say that this has had an impact, the dropping of stories had an impact in your professional life, but you also said in your personal life. So I'm curious as to, for instance, I know you have a son. Yeah, I believe he's 19 now. And I'm wondering how dropping your story has impacted you as a parent.
Good question. That has helped a lot, because one of the things that I find with children is they can read you and they know they know you,
your vulnerabilities,
and what's the right time, what's the wrong time to ask for something. And so one of the things that I find is with my son, he might like to ask for money, or he might like to ask for something. And what's happened is I can just look at him and see there's something extra that's going on. And I can step away from the story of, this is what a mother's supposed to do. This is what the son is supposed to do. This is like the right way or the wrong way. And I can step back and be appropriate and just look at him and be direct, give him direct feedback, be clear with what I want, and not have the idea of this is what a parent is supposed to do, which I think we're often taught or trained. And so that's really supported me in just looking at it and being direct with him.
Do you mean like sometimes, let's say your son wants money for something, and in one moment you can look and say to yourself or see that actually would be more beneficial for him to earn that money. And in another moment you might see that, yes, he really needs this right now and he's nervous to ask, but you're not constrained by a good parent makes them earn it,
by a set of rules,
or a good parent always gives it. Yes, by a set of rules.
By the set of rules. And that's really had an impact in many different ways. How I communicate with his father, because I might also realize, I wonder if he asked his father and he's doing this to ask me, to play each other. So I start to tune into other things. And as a result, the communication with my ex-husband is better and more clear. And then what I'm communicating with him is just, it's more clear and direct. He's not wondering. Yeah. And that's had an impact in many different ways. I also have a different intuition where I'll call him up and I'll say, like, you need to register for a class. Double check if you registered. I'll have these moments where I'll just and he'll say, oh, thank you. Yeah, there was something I needed to do. So he's listening to me as well. That's had an impact both ways.
Well, I'll circle back to something you were saying earlier because it kind of slid by in the context of what you were talking about. You talked about having an intuition about a class, about something they might need. I suspect that you're getting ready to leave your house. You haven't necessarily met this teacher or been to this class before, and you have the thought, oh, I should really bring the construction paper, or oh, those workbooks I did for this would be perfect for this course. And you stop and you gather those things and you walk into the class and it's exactly what you need. Is that what you were talking about?
That is 100% true, what you just said. It wasn't necessarily, but 100% true. Yes, before. Yes. Right before I leave home, I will have a 2-minute scan of my home and I pull things, and it could be like a little elephant, 2 stickers, like these a little glue stick, very small things that seem to be monumental and just really appropriate for the classes that I support. And it's, that's been great, just learning how to listen to myself and not have that story of like, this doesn't mean anything, or that's not like, what does that have to do with anything? So I've really tuned into.
So you're not disregarding your intuitive nature now.
I include it. It's very much central to my life in all ways. It's really been supportive.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, I like what you just said. And it wasn't the words, it was the tonality of your voice. See, I am musical in a way. But it was your voice was not straining in that moment. It was really an authentic Jody's voice. And
when she said it's central to my life.
Yes. That really, I really got it.
I hear that. That's super sweet, Jody.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Go ahead, you first.
I was to say that skill of listening with my eyes, listening with my whole being has profoundly shifted my life.
Well, you know, listening is based in the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation. Really, listening is the second principle, which is life shows up exactly as it is in any given moment. In other words, you can only be exactly as you are in any given moment. In this moment, for instance. Another way of looking at that is no 2 things can occupy you at the same time. So when you're truly listening, you're listening to what's being said rather than listening to your thoughts about what's being said. True listening pulls you into the current moment of your life. That's where transformation takes place. The first principle is anything you resist, you're stuck with. The third is anything you see without judging completes itself. Now, this seeing without judging is very much analogous to listening. You're seeing what is. And when you see what is, it can't be different than it is in that moment. And the seeing of it without resisting it completes it. And then you move into the next moment of your life. So listening is the gift of allowing your life to go forward effortlessly without creating problems and upset. So,
yes.
Yeah, and thank you for conceiving of this title and also being willing to share it with everybody who listens to our podcast.
I want to say
very
something.
Generous of you.
I want to say something about when listening ends.
What, the story ends or listening
ends?
ends?
When the story ends, excuse me, when the story ends. See, the problem is that people hear through, well, I've got to get rid of my story.
I've got to end my story.
Which would be resisting that you have a story, which will keep that story in place. So that's the conundrum here.
But my experience is what you intended and what you mean is that, for instance, I have cassette tapes, or those are old. I have the VCR, those are old, Blu-ray discs, but also I have purchased some movies through Xfinity. And I can go back and play those stories anytime I want. And when you are here and listening, that story ends. It doesn't mean it's not in the recording cabinet. The recording cabinet has all those recordings and they are there indelibly. It's like what we talked about in our very first book, the wormy nature of our brains. They're filled with worms, indelible, imprinted things. Write once, read many. That's the acronym WORM. So you have stories that are written and they appear true when they start playing. It's like getting sucked in. Shine. I watched the first Top Gun movie with Tom Cruise, and he was young all over again. And it's in there. It's done. It's complete. It's in the can. But when you turn off the movie, you're here. You begin.
Cool.
Hey, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, you want to hear about transformation?
Mm-hmm.
We've got one of our listeners about to tell you about what's happened in their life out of listening to being here.
Here is Renate from Biessenach in Switzerland. And what I love about the show Being Here and all the seminars I take part of is that it reignites the compassion with myself and with other people. And that's just in this day-to-day life, just such a blessing. And it's so nice to get a deep dive again and again.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
We invite you to join us virtually for our next upcoming seminars. We have some Living Made Easy seminars coming up. You should check your schedule. We have a holiday weekend. And at the time of recording this, we're not sure whether or not we're doing this upcoming Saturday. For sure, we are not doing Monday, as it is a holiday here in the United States, Memorial Weekend. The next weekend seminars
We're doing New Beginnings, which is a great idea. It's like letting go of your story. And that's going to be on June 11th and 12th.
So if you have a story about Zoom, let go of it. Enjoy.
You know, a lot of people say things like, I'm on Zoom all the time, but, through their jobs and such. So I don't want to spend the full weekend on Zoom. You'd be amazed how intimate and how much fun and how enlightening
and refreshing
a weekend can be, because the way we do Zoom is not the way a lot of businesses do Zoom.
It was funny. Somebody recently was talking to us about having gone to a holiday get together in person. And they said, oh my goodness, I'd forgotten what it was like to be in a situation where everybody's talking at once and nobody's listening. One thing for sure, people will be listening, and it is exquisite. And I love that Jody was talking today about how much she depends on her creativity and intuition skills. That's something she's developed. Our course at the end of July 30th and 31st, is on the theme.
Creativity and intuition.
So feel free to join us for any and all of the things coming up. You can find out more information and register at transformationmadeeasy.com. All right.
All right.
Our next guest
is
Lenore. Welcome to being here. I know where you are, but I know our listeners don't. So why don't you tell people where you're at?
I am in Milford, New Jersey.
I believe you're right downstairs.
Yes, I am.
Welcome to being here.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, I am so intrigued by this. When the story ends, you begin. I realized that I had been as limited by the things that I think I'm good at, or that I know myself to be good at, as I was by the things that I think I can't do. Because I was only focused on, oh, I'm good with this. So the rest, so I was dismissing so many things.
It's interesting. As you say that, I get the idea of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yes.
What if you can't miss out? What if you can't do anything other than what you're doing? So why not just do it rather than have a conversation with yourself that you should be doing something else?
Well, that kind of shorted out something in my brain there for a second.
Well, I have a feeling that you at times, and perhaps many times, don't simply live your life. You live your life in comparison to how other people are living theirs. So it's not just, I am sitting downstairs at the King's home today. You ping out to see if other people have more interesting, better, more relationships, how their relationship with their families are compared to you, what they do for a living compared to you, how much money they make compared to you, their health compared to you. So it's not just Lenore's life, it's Lenore's life in the inner schematic of how it...
In comparison to how you feel other people are doing. So you're not just doing what you're doing it and thinking you could be doing something else.
Yeah.
Some other grand scheme, something that would make you famous.
Bigger. Yes.
Well, bigger goes along with more, better, and different.
It does.
Are the realms of the mind.
Yeah.
The conversation you listen to, the story of your life, if you will.
Yeah, I have noticed something. If I'm in contact with somebody, either by phone or in person, and I walk away and I have the thought, oh, gee, their life is so much more interesting than mine. Mm-hmm. Or I feel like I'm left with, that they left me with a taste in my mouth, like I ate a piece of Don't You Wish You Were Me. I'm left with the feeling that that person is likely feeling insecure about themselves. Because if you're feeling well about yourself, like for instance, I felt Jody was doing her best to articulate what's happened for her, but she wasn't adding the spin of, don't you wish you were me? Aren't I better than you? And somehow, I don't know, I feel like either you've come in contact with people like that and you've resisted them and you've started to turn a little bit into that. Question, can I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Have you been feeling insecure lately?
I have. I've been feeling like I'm not good enough.
For
And
what?
well, it covers many things. I'm not good enough teacher. I'm not good enough in relationships. I'm not good enough at paperwork. I mean, it really covers.
So now, are you gathering evidence to support you're not good enough? Finding examples of out there in the universe.
I'm pretty good at gathering examples, so I'm certain that I am doing that. Yes. Wow. Oh, man. I've heard you say a number of times to consider being kind to yourself. And I sometimes realize that the thoughts that I have about myself or how I treat myself, I would not do that to a friend.
So you're being very friendly
To yourself?
That is, yeah. And
I have a feeling, Lenore, you're like many people, many of us, where you'll have an unkind thought about yourself or others, and then you hide it mainly from yourself because you judge it. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the kinder, gentler version. And if you don't register that sometimes you have caustic or bitter or angry or judgmental or catty or unkind, I'm trying to find a whole series, a whole category that you won't let yourself register, even though as a human being you have them.
I just got this vision of you cannot be the angry Black woman. You can't be that person. You cannot present that. And even if if in a moment, my whole person is not angry, but sometimes I get upset. I get angry. I'm like ticked off about something or other. And I definitely have limits to what I will allow myself to express.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing, limits to what you express. You take a look at some of the things people have expressed recently, and they're really awful expressions and awful consequences. But I don't think you let it register.
Oh.
Well, for instance, I know she had at one point somebody who came and stayed with her, who outstayed their welcome. And at some point, she started feeling very angry at that person and very put upon by that person. And she didn't let herself register how disturbed she was until it exploded inside her in a way that, and I still don't think she expressed it out in a way that was inappropriate, but it had her be in big distress, and she's
with herself,
and she's still in distress with herself over that reaction.
Oh yes, a better me would not have bad.
Lenore, I'm going to have to go back to something I've done many times and ask you a question.
Okay.
Could you not be downstairs in my home at this moment of now?
I could only be here downstairs.
Okay. Could you not have just rubbed your right eye a moment ago. Too late happened.
Right.
See, you could not have done anything in any previous moment of your life differently than you did.
Oh, okay.
I mean, hell, you can't be different than you are right now. I mean, I snapped my fingers.
Right.
I snapped this time, and that's the way you are. This is like screenshots. Our lives are like screenshots. In the moment you press that button, the moment of now, the screen can only be holding the image it's holding.
Right.
That includes emotions, feelings, thoughts,
Actions that are stopped mid-action.
resentments, regrets, and any other human emotion that you could have. That's the only thing you could have at any given moment, what you have. And it can't be different than that. So beating on yourself for what you said or did,
Mm-hmm.
It may seem a little psychopathic. It doesn't help. A psychopath is someone who moves on. They don't beat on themselves for what they did.
Right.
Train to be empathetic and to care about other people's feelings.
You can move on without having to be a psychopath.
That's what I'm saying. You can move on without being psychopathic. But it's really a value to leave yourself alone about what you did. Because first off, all you have is the current moment of your life.
Right.
You can waste it on resentments or regrets about how you handled previous moments. But that all keeps you from feeling you in the current moment. And all there is this moment, sweetheart. And it's not about getting somewhere.
Right.
It's about being here to experience your life in this moment of now, not in some other moment. And it's not about getting better, because you can't get better. It's impossible to get better, because better is in comparison to something that's already gone by.
Right.
You can only be as you are. And that's perfect. The way you are is perfect. You don't need to be a better than or to be loved. You are loved.
Oh. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay.
In change, in psychology, and the way our minds are structured, there's always comparison, and there's always this graduating scale. And I suspect no matter how much you accomplish, how much love you have, how kind of person you are, how much money you have, how much relationship you have, there's always that scale that judges itself. And then there's more, better, different. And you even said it very, articulated it well, a better me would. And then there's the ... And as soon as the better you accomplish whatever that subset is, it's like a Boolean field. Then a new one appears.
Right.
Different, a better me would. So on today, you may have the perfect weight or the perfect emotions or ate the perfect thing, but then you're going to have a revolving set of better unises. In transformation, it's really about seeing how you are. It's more of an aha moment.
But not judgmentally seeing how you are, and not seeing how you are in comparison to some ideal that you have that would be better.
I'm stirred up today. I feel well today. I'm judgmental this
Well,
moment.
That's very good. You corrected, because
Today's too long.
Today is way too long. This moment. It's now. It's now. It's now. It's not someday when I get somewhere, then it will be better.
Yeah.
And look, the other thing is this: if you tell the truth, you can never satisfy your thoughts.
But here's the cool thing. We are recording this on Easter. I know we are not releasing it for more than another month,
Right.
but you're right now subject to the story of what a good family member is like on Easter, plus all the past Easters. You know, if it were February 12th,
Right.
you'd just be living through February 12th or September 29th, or unless that happened to be your birthday, if you're a listener. But when it's a holiday, there is an extra pressure built from the past. And I see you having a pressure to be a better you today. And here's the exciting thing. Anytime you have a pressure to be a better you, it's an opportunity to non-judgmentally observe that pressure. It's a built-in aha moment. Look, I'm trying to live up to a standard. Huh.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Very, very welcome. And let yourself feel. Feeling can be fun.
Okay.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so
Look
much.
forward to hanging out with you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, if you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps others find people find being here. And if you feel to do it, thank you. Next week's episode,
Your hidden superpower.
hint, 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 it's being here. So we'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
being
being here.